and welcome to a new edition of Tech Tip Tuesday, where today we're going to talk about screencasting for your students. Now, screencasting is something that's been around for quite a while, and it's been a great resource for teachers as a way to communicate, way to teach during pandemic, especially when we were doing remote teaching. But it's really a great tool to kind of use on a regular basis anyway. It's a great way to have lessons available for students if they're absent, or maybe even have extra resources for students if they need that. But what we're focusing on today is how you can get your students to screencast. Now, there's a few different reasons why I recommend having your students screencast. Number one is that it's an incredibly impactful learning experience. It takes some of those 21st century skills and has students, rather than just kind of learn something and be assessed on that knowledge, but it takes them to the place where they're also going to create and communicate and teach another person about what they have learned. So it's a great tool for that. It's also a great way to give those students a teaching experience. So sometimes students, they don't have any idea what it's like to be a teacher, but screencasting can give them that brief experience, what it's like to actually teach a concept. So you could have your students teach a math concept, or teach maybe something that has to do with grammar or language arts, or maybe give a quick book talk on something. So they're teaching something. And so it's a really good experience just to have them have a teaching experience. Number three, screencasting. It's a great method of creation with technology. We talk all the time about how students are such consumers of tech, but screencasting with your students takes them from being consumers to being creators, which is kind of where we want to get to with this. Lastly, screencasting is nice for your students because it gives the rest of your class a new person to learn from. So they're not just learning from you as the teacher, but it also lets them learn from each other. So screencasting for the student isn't just for the student who's actually doing the screencasting, but it's for the rest of the class as well. So it's a nice tool for that. So kind of diving in, I'm going to give you a few different resources for screencasting with your students. Now, if you have students on Chromebooks, this section is for you. So with a Chromebook, a great tool for screencasting is Screencastify, which is actually one of the things I'm currently using right now to make this video. So Screencastify is actually a Chrome extension. You can kind of see up here at the top. That's the little extension icon for it. And I've already got it installed. If you were doing this for the first time, you'd have to go here, click Add to Chrome. You get an account set up and kind of get it going. Now, Screencastify is a really nice tool because it has a lot of extra features to it. So not only is it going to record the screen, so the student could maybe have like a Google Slides presentation that they're going to teach from, or maybe use like Google Jamboard or a different whiteboard tool that they're going to use to teach. And they can record their screen and record their voice. They can include the webcam. I can have a webcam installed on this. The video feed you're seeing is actually not through Screencastify. I kind of am a little more complicated with the way I put these videos together, but you can use the webcam. You can also annotate on your screen, which is really nice. So if the student was going to teach something, they can grab this pen tool that's down here at the bottom, and they can draw on their screen and maybe annotate something as they go. I'm going to clear it out. We'll hit back, but then you can also, there's different ways you can use your mouse. You can have it focus in on certain areas, which is kind of nice. I can give it fireworks, like maybe every time I click, it really, enhances where the click is. Or, there's classic, or I can have it have this little red circle when I click. I can add a rectangle, so maybe I want people to notice that box. I can kind of give things like that, change the colors. I can erase things and give stickers, stuff like that. So it's really nice. Screencastify has a lot of really cool options. If you're using it as a free tool, you are limited on time, which most students are going to make super long videos anyway, so that kind of works out. The other option that I like to recommend if you're on a Chromebook is Flipgrid. Now, Flipgrid is a wonderful tool that has screencasting built right in also. So, and it is kind of automatically allows your students to share their content with each other. And so you can set up different groups and topics on Flipgrid. So for example, let me just open, this doesn't have anything in it. So just to kind of show you how this works. So I would set this up, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing. In fact, I'll put a link to a Flipgrid video on the bottom or down in the description box so you can kind of see it. But when the student would log into this with their Chromebook, or they can use their phone, which is kind of nice. I think students often really appreciate getting to use their phone. When they go to record a response, oh, there's my webcam. I'm sitting a little too low for it. They can click on options, and then they can click on record screen, and they can record their screen from there. And so that's a nice option too. And then it will automatically become a shared thing with the rest of their class. So they're automatically sharing it with each other. This also hits a lot of those speaking and listening goals that we have with Common Core that a lot of times get missed, especially if you don't have time to present all the time in class. This can cover some of those standards. So those are kind of the two I would really recommend with the Chromebook. However, if you are on an iPad, there are a few different tools. Now, iPads can't really use Screencastify because that's a Chrome extension. Your iPad does have an app for Flipgrid. However, currently the camera app for Flipgrid on the iPad does not include screencasting. Apple doesn't really allow that. So your tools for screencasting are a little bit different on the iPad. So the main thing is actually when you are on here, up here at the top in my little control center menu, if I click and drag down from that, I actually have an icon right here for screencasting that I can just click on and start a screencast right from there. Now, it's not perfect. There's a few things you have to make sure. First of all, if it's not there, you're going to need to go to your settings first and add it. So in my settings, in this section right here that says Control Center, I can pick which controls I want. So I have screencasting added. If it was not there, you'd have to look down in this section that says More Controls and click on the plus sign next to it and add it, okay? So if it's not there, that's what you do. The other thing is the screencasting, for whatever reason on the iPad defaults to not include sound. So you have to make sure you add sound, your microphone. So when you pull down to open up this menu, you have to long press on your screencasting button, which I can't really do at the moment because it's currently running. And when you long press on this, you'll have an option to include the microphone. So you have to turn that on in order to get the microphone included. I don't know why that defaults to be off, but it just does. So it's kind of an extra step, but it makes sure it's there. So if you're having this kid screencast from their iPad, that's one option. Another option is to use an app like Edu Creations, which you can see that right here, and we do subscribe to this, so this is something that you have access to. Now, you can set up templates in Edu Creations for your students, or you can just kind of have them start from scratch. I'm not going to go through and explain how this all works, and this isn't exactly screencasting. It's sort of screencasting, I guess, but you could give these students an assignment or basically a project or something that they're going to do with this, and they would use Edu Creations. They'd click on this little record button, and then they can, draw something out, or maybe they're going to do a math problem, and that's really hard to see. Draw something and then explain how they got their answer. Obviously, however it works for you is how you'll do this. They can do other things like add pictures or other content. They can actually put their camera in there if you want them to actually have their video recorded. But you can do all sorts of things with this. This is a tool too. You could use this for maybe like reading fluency. You could have them use the camera to record their voice, and they could read a book, and you've got reading fluency evidence right there. That isn't something you really have to use screencasting for. You could actually use Flipgrid and just have the camera and use that, but it is something you can screencast with, especially if your students, maybe you're a little camera shy. So those are some options for screencasting as a student. There's other things you can kind of integrate with it. You could always even integrate, something like Edpuzzle with a screencast. Probably a topic for another video, but it's really a neat way to do things. And if you love the Flipgrid option and you want your students screencasting using Flipgrid on the iPad, you can always have them record the video first and then post that video to the Flipgrid so it's collaborative or sharing with the rest of the class. So that is an option with that as well. But anyway, Screencasting for Students is a fantastic tool. It's a great way to get your students creating, teaching each other, learning from each other, really having a much more bigger connection to the content by having to teach it themselves. But anyway, give those options a try. Let me know if there's anything else I can help with. Hope you try out screencasting with your students, and I hope you're really successful with it. Have a wonderful week.